Hey everybody, it's Carnivore B and Carnivore D. And we are Married, Black, and Carnivore. It's good to see everybody again. We missed you. Hope you enjoyed the previous video we put out. We're back. We're going to try a different little format today during this filming. So we're going to be asking each other questions about our journey on Carnivore.
Yeah. And our focus today is on, why we are staying carnivore and, how we stay carnivore. So, you want me to kick it off and ask you some questions first?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So, talk to us a little bit more about your past experience with, different ways of eating, particularly low carb, and how did that
Well, in the past, my way of eating, I always liked seafood. I saw the food and I ate it. So basically, that's how I got in this situation. But I've dabbled in low carb before. I didn't really do Atkins. I guess I was doing some form of Atkins. Some way I got hold of information that said if you stay at a max of 22 grams of carbs per day, you can stay in ketosis. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, I like putting numbers together. I'm a numbers guy. So what I would do, I would eat one piece of bread, which was roughly around 13 grams, and maybe one Reese's peanut butter cup. That was like maybe about 18 grams. And if I went over 22, I like maybe tear the bread in half so I could meet my numbers.
Wow.
So, and it didn't work too well for me, but that's what I used to do, to keep that sugar, to keep that bread and flowing through my body.
So you were still trying to do low carb, but looking strictly at like how many carbs could you have, and then maybe eat things that were still, like you said, sugar,
right,
grains, carbs, bread. So why did that not work? So what was the end result?
The end result, there was no result. I was getting bigger. That was the result.
So was it you were getting bigger? So would you stick with those grams, or did it turn into?
Well,
how did that go?
If I can be honest with you, at the end of the day, I used to get my. Why would I throw a perfectly good Reese's peanut butter cup away? So, sometimes I would get a couple of packs, and it just, it didn't work.
It did work. Okay.
So,
yeah. Okay. So I have another question for you. As far as your current energy levels and how you feel on carnivore, how would you describe that?
Well, my energy is good. Well, I'm gonna tell you in the beginning. I guess everyone goes through this when you're switching over, getting all the glucose out of your system.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning, I was just, oh my goodness, I was so tired, so tired, so tired. I think mine might have lasted about 3 weeks. I was just actually dragging and dragging. But now, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Energy levels are great.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another benefit of being carnivore. You don't feel heavy. You never feel heavy and weighed down from eating. When you eating carbs, you like, whoo, I want to go take a nap or something. But I feel light, and my energy levels are very good.
Yeah,
very good.
Yeah, I would agree that you definitely have. I think your energy levels were pretty.
Yeah, they were okay.
Decent before, but there's definitely, from what I can see, a noticeable difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so why is it important to you now to stick with carnivore? Why is that important to you?
Well, like we did in the first when we first started, when we came into this way of eating or heard about the way of eating, we would do 30 days and go back to eating off the rails. So, like I said before, I feel like this way of eating, this way of life, is empowering.
Mm.
And like I've said before, if you don't take care of your health, someone else will be given that task. So, like I say, this is empowering. You can take things and take matters into your own hands. You eliminate. If you having problems, all you got to do is eliminate, and you'll find the culprit that's giving you the problems.
Yeah.
So I feel that's why it's important. You know, I want to stay healthy. I want my blood pressure to stay low. I want my blood sugar levels to stay regulated. All the things above that and the benefits that I'm getting from carnivore.
That's a good point. That it is empowering. I think the word I've used or the phrase I've heard and repeated is food freedom. Because I think how we used to anticipate eating certain things was very different then as compared to how it is now.
Right.
Like food kind of ruled us in many ways.
Right.
Versus now it's like, okay, yep, time to fix some food, but it's not this, I don't know, that's not that dopamine rush, I guess, that you get from anticipating the carbs. And so yeah, I would agree that there's a tremendous amount of freedom. And then at the same time that we still get to enjoy what we're eating. Can you talk more about the differences between, because you and I take a slightly different approach with carnivore. Not a huge difference, but we ebb and flow a little bit differently sometimes. How would you describe that? Some of the differences for you versus for me?
Well, for me, like I said, I'll eat hot dogs or I'll beef hot dogs. Um, I'll eat chicken thighs. I know what previously had the skin on this time around have the skinless, boneless one. So what I do once they're done, I'll put some butter in so I can get my fat content. Lamb chops, things of that nature. But like I say, I don't know if it's considered dirty carnivore, but it's all meat. And like I say, I
and
cut
you do
out.
lunch meat a little bit here and there.
I do lunch
You
meat.
do some lunch
like
meat.
Today, I had some corned beef. So
let's talk about the corned beef.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about the corned beef.
Yeah, it was pretty tasty. It was pretty tasty.
It was tasty. So let's just because we said we would be real and transparent. So he picked up some corned beef from a spot here locally, and
no bread,
of course, right? And he was considerate enough to not just get some for himself, but to get some for me. The truth though is I really don't eat deli meat anymore. But I felt like, well, he was nice enough to give me some corned beef, and he even had some little butter he had put on top of it that I originally thought was mayo. I'm like, why'd you put mayo on the corned beef? And it was like, that's not mayo, that's butter. And like, oh, okay, yeah, let me turn the light on. Oh, yeah, that is butter. And so that I could warm it up and then to get some extra fat. Well, I had already not had a lot of sleep, so I was already tired because I had to work very late through the night last night, which is not the norm. But it put me to sleep. It did. I mean, I was out like a light. So I had to take a nap after I ate it. And then when I woke up, I was a little bit more groggy. I wasn't quite feeling myself. My eyes were a little kind of foggy, like burning a little bit, like when you're really, really tired. Normally when I wake up, even from a nap or after I've eaten, based on the carnivore that I do today, I don't feel any of that. And I was a little snarky, I was a little, not quite myself in terms of my mood. And so we were talking about it and saying that for me, where I am in the carnivore journey, it's probably best for me to stick with, not doing those types of things because how it affects me. Now, he doesn't get affected that way.
Hey, I feel great.
And I didn't get sick or anything, but it did affect me. And it was short lived, so it's not like, oh my gosh, I feel horrible and it's long lasting, but I didn't wake up feeling the normal kind of refreshed way that I feel. And then it did affect my mood a little bit, like I said, and I just felt a little off. And even right now as we're filming, I'm still I'm a little foggy as compared to how I normally feel. So we were talking about that even when we're both doing carnivore, his carnivore is slightly different than mine, and that in the future he'll probably, if he's out getting something quick, then he may need to stop at Burger King and just get me some, or McDonald's or Wendy's or anywhere, and just get me some plain burger patties. And then I'll put butter on that, warm it up. So yeah, that's all right.
Hey, I feel great.
Yeah, he feels great. Meanwhile, I'm like, oh, I'm a little foggy. So, and that's okay that we're different in our approaches, because, part of what we want to talk about a little bit more is understanding and knowing yourself and knowing what works for you.
Right.
And like he was saying, it is the ultimate elimination diet, as we hear people say when they talk about carnivore or zero carb, because then it lets you understand what things are specifically affecting you and how. When you get it down to bare bones, beef, butter, salt, if you have to take it that low in order to figure out what's going on. And then, after you've been doing that level of carnivore for a while, then you can begin to figure out what's going on. Or even if you're doing what some people call dirty carnivore, or loose carnivore, or whatever the term. There's so many different labels out there. But let's just say you've eliminated all plants, but you're still doing other things, whether it's seasonings or I'm trying to think of some other stuff that is carnivore, but for some people they still can't do those things. But as you begin to eliminate things and you're feeling better and better and better and better, and then reintroduce some stuff and like, oh yeah, I can't do that, or don't like how that makes me feel. And so for me, I've gotten to a space where it really is so incredibly basic for me, but yet I thoroughly enjoy it. I mean, for me, it's the ribeye. Other steaks don't have the same effect on me. I don't know if it's the fat to meat ratio, but I just do better physically when I have ribeye. Versus, like, for him, he was good with, when I went to Costco, he was good with just New York strip. I do better with ribeye than I do New York strip or other cuts of meat, other cuts of beef. And then I can do bacon. But certain types of bacon might have a different effect on me than others, so I have to be conscious of that. So mine is pretty simple. It is beef, butter, bacon, eggs, and salt and water.
Hey, you're looking at a person here who every meal, no joke, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, mayo,
Sweet
white
Jesus.
goodness. I was eating mayo every day.
Every day.
And cheese.
On everything.
Every meal. So I eliminated that because I really do, deep down in my core, feel that even though it says it was, zero carb and all that, I think that's what was holding me up from progress.
Yeah.
Every meal.
Just about. And so the next thing we're gonna do, and maybe we'll do a video on that, is we're gonna try to make carnivore mayo with the bacon and egg yolks.
Mayo or something.
Bacon mayo. Yeah, we haven't done that yet, but we're really interested in trying that out. We've seen some good results online that people seem to think is amazing, so we're gonna try that out. Yeah, so there is a freedom. I agree with you 100% again, that there is a freedom that comes with this way of eating, because when people say, well, does that mean I have to give up X, Y, and Z? But when you really weigh out what it is that you're getting back in return,
right.
It's just,
you get it back tenfold.
Yeah, it's so much better.
The benefits.
Yeah, and carnivore may not be for everyone. I'm not here to try to say that everyone should be carnivore.
We're not carnivore snobs.
Yeah, we're not carnivore snobs. We're trying to make everybody get on the bandwagon. I guess, though, if you're struggling with weight, if you're struggling with your overall wellness, and I know in our next episode we'll talk about, the mental health side of it, and mood, and, just how it makes you feel, and that sort of thing. But if you're struggling with some very specific things, then, maybe it is something to consider. Maybe it is something to think about, because you just don't, the phrase, you don't know until you try it, but, and that you truly give it an opportunity to work. But I've been just really amazed at, even today was a stressful day. I won't go into detail. He knows that today was a really stressful day for me, with some things that that I'm grappling with. And in the past, how I would have responded to some things that happened today would have looked very different.
Mm-hmm. Fellas, you listening?
It would have looked very different. I was still able to come home and smile and just kind of be even and not being in a funk about things. And again, it doesn't mean that things aren't still stressful and things aren't still tough at times, but yeah, it definitely was a much better outcome in terms of how I responded as compared to how it would have looked in the past.
You listening, fellas? Jump on the bandwagon with me. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Believe me.
So, okay.
Okay, we're going to switch it up. I'm going to ask D some questions, and here we go. Okay, D, talk about abstainers versus moderators.
Okay, abstainers versus moderators. So, this is a topic that I have a huge interest in when it comes to this way of eating, because I've been learning more about why this works really well for me. In the past, I was one of those people that really thought, well, yeah, if maybe I just can moderate with certain types of food, because that's what we always would hear people say, you know, you can have a little bit of this or a little bit of that as long as you don't go overboard. The problem with me, and that used to be so frustrating, is that I would be like, well, why can't I just have a few potato chips, or why can't I just have one slice of cake or a sliver of cake and be okay and be done? It was one slice was never enough, and one or a few potato chips were never enough. And that used to frustrate me because I had friends and other people that I would see who were what we would consider normal healthy weight and could eat these things in moderation. But for me, it was like it just opened the floodgates. And so, excuse me. But what I didn't know is that there are these terms around that called, you know, abstainers versus moderators. And I'm learning, or I have learned and accepted that I am someone who has to abstain from those things.
Right.
Because if I don't, it's beyond a slippery slope. It becomes off the rails snowball. That's really why for us, I think now I don't know that I would call you an abstainer. I don't know if that's what you would you classify yourself as? You just have
certain things.
Yeah. So, but for me, when it comes to any of that stuff,
well, you know what? I'll take it back, because remember, I always say I could eat something and then just jump right back on the next day, so it doesn't really.
But then it would still snowball, though, eventually.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
Nope. So then he probably could, when he gets to where he
so
wants
I
to
would be a moderator.
He might be more of a moderator long term.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, that I don't believe it would work, because I'm 52 years old and I have tried to eat certain things in moderation. And I have done low carb, took a stab at carnivore once or twice in the last few years. But I would then say, I would listen to what other people say, you know, and I would say, well, you know, yeah, it's a big celebration, get together, and somebody said, oh, just have a little bit. And I would, right? It's never just ended at a little bit. It was
this
always,
cake is amazing.
Yeah, this is awesome. Like, let me go back for another slice. Or for a short period of time, maybe a week or two, I could have something once or twice a week, and I was fine. But then by the time you get to week 3 or 4 or 5, now I'm having it every day, and then trying to recommit to this low carb lifestyle that I had identified, which wasn't at that time carnivore. It's like, oh, well, I got to get back on keto, or I got to get back on low carb. But it ends up being, well, I got to get back on, because having things in moderation for me would result in a snowball effect eventually. So if it hasn't worked for me, and I'm now 52, I've had to make a decision that, based on where I am right now, I've accepted that I am an abstainer. I need to just not eat those things. And not be mad at the fact that I need to be an abstainer. Once I came to terms with, and that's part of what happened with me in this carnivore journey, was I came to accept that I can't go down the slippery slope. But But even accepting that has given me a sense of freedom. And I don't have any cravings for those things. And for me, what I've gained from going carnivore far outweighs any of that other stuff anyway. So I'm okay. So I'm okay with that.
Yep. Once we come to grips with ourselves or terms that it's something we can't do, then things will be much easier.
Yeah. So the last thing I would like to say is, again, this way of eating and this lifestyle, because for us it really truly is a lifestyle. This is the longest I have ever done any specific way of eating, and not allowing other things to creep in.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be for everyone, but if you're dealing with metabolic issues, whether it's high blood pressure, diabetes or pre-diabetes, weight, mental health stuff, stress, anxiety, the science is becoming more and more clear that it may be something you want to consult with, your medical professional about. And, I'll maybe kind of quote Dr. Kid Barry a little bit here, is that it's important, or not quote him, but his philosophy around finding a doctor and a medical professional who understands this way of eating so that they can be supportive of you in it, because many medical professionals are still in that camp of endorsing things that really don't work for everyone, as far as the standard American diet. So,
get the drugs.
And the drug, and immediately just going to drugs for you as a solution, instead of really tackling the real root cause of why you're having the health and metabolic issues. So anyway, that's why we stay carnivore, and how we stay carnivore is just really understanding the true benefits of it, and enjoying the journey and everything that comes with it. So, yeah. It's rolling now.
Oh, okay. Hey, everybody. It's Carnivore B. What's her name?
Mary Black and Carnivore.
No, I'm talking about the other one. Oh, Mr. and Mrs Carnivore?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we married Black and Carnivore, and we're, what's it again?
Mr. and Mrs Carnivore.
Oh, yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Short-term memory problems.
I'm going to put some bacon in the air fryer toaster oven.
Okay, turn this on. What we're going to be making today...
You got the wrong one.
What we're going to be making today is hamburger and egg, something my mother made for me growing up. It was 8 boys, so, I guess she was trying to stretch and...
That's a lot of boys.
And make her money go longer. So, this is what I grew up on, and it's resurfacing again in a carnivore way of eating. So, first off, I have 1 pound of ground beef. No, better yet, hamburger, because it's fattier, because we need the fat. So I'm going to brown that off. And I get my...
You see the spatula?
This one. So it has to be chopped up finely. Like so. All we doing is looking to brown it. This is delicious.
It tastes amazing.
Usually I'll put the salt in the pan, but I guess since I'm on camera right now, I kind of forgot one of my steps. I like to activate the salt. So I put the salt in the pan first, let it activate, then I'll add the ground beef. But like they say, better late than never. So put a little bit of salt, and this is pink Himalayan salt. So we're gonna be using that.
We usually use REDMONDS salt, but it looks like we ran out. So our backup is the pink Himalayan salt.
So I'm using also, along with this 1 pound of hamburger, I'm using 6 scrambled eggs, already scrambled. So when I get these brown and finely chopped and brown, then I'm gonna add it in, and we're almost there. You can also add a little bit of cheese if you're doing dairy. So, try not to get any processed cheese or some real cheese, a little block cheese, and use your shredder. So we're getting brown right here. So it's gonna take a minute.
Now, about how many times a day? I mean, excuse me, how many times a week do you think we eat this?
Just depends.
Like a couple times a week?
Yeah, probably a couple of times a week.
It is so good, and I don't make it as well as he makes it. He makes it, it's so good.
But it's a simple dish, and you know, it takes care of what you're trying to do. Very simple.
You know?
Yeah, okay, so now we're in our browning process. We're getting all the excess grease. So now I'm going to pour like maybe 3/4 of the grease off, which is fat rendering out. And we're going to keep some because we want to keep the fat. And then I'm going to add butter to the mix. And it's about to get saucy.
I'm going to get some more butter.
Okay. That's done. We're going to finish our browning. Add a little bit more salt to taste. Okay, we're almost there. And like I say, make it fine. Chop it up real good. And like I mentioned before, if you want to add some cheese to it, once again, I use 1 pound of hamburger and also using 6 eggs. We usually cook this, especially when my sons are over. You know, something quick, low carb. And you know, everybody likes it. It's, you know, no fuss. Okay. And then when you're getting ready to add the eggs, spread it out a little bit, like so. And then we can go in. Turn it down a little bit.
It smells so good.
Okay, hold on. One important thing I forgot. I'll be right back.
Oh.
Have to add the butter. There we go. All right. I'm cooking with fire now. Okay, let's mix that up a little bit. Then we're coming in with the eggs. Coming in hot. Oh yeah, that's coming together great. Okay, now spread it out. So when the eggs come in, it'll just grab a corner of everything coming in. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah, that's like liquid gold. Right there. Oh yeah, that's it. Okay, thank you, hon.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now we will commence to combining, mixing it all together, getting that nice consistency. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and if you're doing dairy or if you're not doing dairy, it's good either way. And like I say, you can always season to taste with your salt. So we got the butter in here, we got some of the fat left over from the hamburger, and it's looking good.
And we have moved to only using salt for our seasoning, so we don't use pepper, we don't use garlic, we don't use any other seasonings anymore. And it's amazing how stuff tastes so good with just salt. We normally use Redmond's salt, or we use Himalayan salt if we don't have any Redmonds in the house. But salt to taste is amazing.
Oh yeah, it's coming alive. Nice and fine. Chop it up real good.
That looks so good.
Okay. Go right here. Right here. All right. All right, we're gonna let it set for a second, and then we'll flip it, and we should be done.
You want me to, did you want cheese?
No, I'm good. I'm good
without
yeah.
cheese today?
Yeah. Like I say, either way, if you're doing dairy or you're not doing dairy, we cut out dairy, and then I reintroduced it. Dee is still not doing dairy, but you know, here and there she may do it, but I have reintroduced it, not like I used to, but you know,
Yeah.
I have reintroduced it into my diet, and you know.
Yeah, but you still don't really do a lot of dairy. You just, do it here and there, and it's pretty rare for me to have dairy. It just doesn't really work for me, is what I learned, and I found that if I do a lot of dairy, like heavy whipping cream, a lot of cheese and stuff, it stalls my progress, not just with weight loss, but also just with how I feel and my overall health.
Can I get a round and a tray so I can put it on so we can plate it?
Ooh, yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, aches. Sometimes it causes joint aches for me when I do too much dairy. So
nice and fine, nice and fine. And believe me, this will be one of your favorites when you want a little variety. Nice, simple, it's not expensive, and it's something that you can put together real quick. Real quick. Have to thank my mom for this. I didn't think I would be using it, but here it is. Time to fire off.
It's amazing. So as you all heard in the first video, I'm a baker, so we have a lot of tins, and we like to reuse those.
Okay. So we're gonna plate it. Uh-oh. All right. Get a nice little hearty portion.
And that's for you, right? Because I'm not eating that much.
And there you have it.
Look at this.
Hamburger and egg surprise.
It is so good. It is so good. I love it when he makes this. It is the tastiest thing ever. And like you said, it is so simple. And if you don't eat all of it, you can also refrigerate it and eat it later.
Yeah, she reheats it. She reheats it.
And he talks about me because I reheat it. So it's very good. This is really good, honey.
All right.
Okay. This guy right here, holding it down in the kitchen.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. Now, a preview of our next episode will be mental health and the effects that carnivore has on our relationship, being married, and how it has helped us manage life's challenges together more effectively.